Right, perfect. So, hi everyone. I'd just like to introduce you to Shane Fleming. Shane has over 15 years in the industry. He helps investors and developers find properties all across Ireland. Some services Shane provides are commercial real estate appraisal, and negotiation. He's got over 15 years, as I said. He's worked in companies such as IBRC prior to setting up Fleming Real Estate. He was in JLL. And he's been working with global clients such as Blackstone, Standard Life, Green Reach. So expect to learn loads from Shane. He's got a ton of insights and information in that head. So how are you, Shane?
Good, good. Thank you very much for that very generous intro. I'm good. Trying to get through this as best as I possibly can. Trying to be creative. I think that's why you have me on here with the videos and stuff like that. So trying to push through this and make sure I come through stronger and better by the end of it. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you've really leaned into video over the last couple of months. I've seen you on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn. You want to tell the listeners about how you've really done that?
I suppose when I set up on my own about 4 years ago, I obviously decided I'd have to set up everything from your Facebook, your YouTube. Eventually, I moved on to Instagram. So, because I kind of knew these social tools were important to kind of build brand recognition. And I did kind of, at the very start, I did kind of put out 1 or 2 YouTube videos over the years, but never really got any kind of major traction or never really kind of put any real consistency into it. I suppose then I kind of felt that there was really an opportunity here in Ireland to really kind of create some value for myself, as well as give some valuable insight to the public if I was to create some videos around kind of real estate and investing in real estate. So at the start of kind of 2020, or even towards the end of 19, I kind of said, well, in 2020, I will focus on videos and putting out YouTube videos to see if I can really get any traction from that. 1, to kind of put out some information. 2, to kind of be creative. I think when I was in school, I did art. I also did construction studies, and I always had a kind of creative gene. But when you're working in a kind of an office-based environment and a corporate kind of life, you kind of maybe miss a bit of that kind of creativity. So I felt the videos were actually a way to help me kind of that side of my personality to be creative. Brilliant. I don't think I've quite been able to get to the creative side as much as I want yet, but I'm learning all the time in terms of how to shoot videos, editing, and all that kind of stuff. But I really felt that it would be a good way to kind of get myself out there and also kind of teach people as well. And I found by being consistent this year has really helped me grow my YouTube. And I've got a lot of traction from it, a lot of comments coming back, or when I speak to people in my network, the first thing they say to me is, "Oh, I watched your video." So it definitely is getting traction out there. People are watching it, so it does help. Like, it definitely does help with brand recognition.
So you've really leaned into video, and I really admire that people are really putting their brand out first, and because it's your personality at the end of the day that you're trying to put out to a big audience, which you'd have on the likes of Instagram and LinkedIn. How have you, or what difficulties have you found while doing that? Because I'm sure it's not easy.
It's definitely not easy. I think the major difficulty I found is the actual time it takes. Like it is a very time consuming process. Like, to kind of think of an idea that you want to put on a video, draft up a bit of a script that you want to kind of get across and make sure you get your main points across, then shoot it. And then what I found actually the most time consuming process is the editing side of stuff, to make sure you're trying to get a crisp enough video across to the people so they keep coming back and watching more. And I think that's where I've learned the most, is the editing side of things. It's once you kind of get a handle on it and you get a handle on the software, you get a lot more fluid at it. But definitely, I suppose when I started this, I could see some of my videos were maybe kind of 10, 20 minutes long. My view ratings were kind of maybe about 2-3 minutes. So basically that meant people were only watching it for the first 2 or 3 minutes. But as I've got better at kind of editing it and making sure I'm getting to my points quicker, actually my view time is now up near 6 and 7 minutes. So that means that people are definitely watching the videos for far longer. And the people who are actually coming back to the channel are people who are actually genuinely interested in real estate and real estate investment. So the more you do, the more you learn, but also the more you put out there, your audience knows what to expect. And I think the major thing that I've learned is it is time consuming, and it is definitely something that you need to, I suppose, take the advantages of technology out there. Like I'd say to do this 10 years ago, like the software out there for shooting videos and tech and editing them, I probably would have been lost. But now there's actually loads of ones that are fairly simple to learn how to shoot a video and actually how to edit it as well. So the tech is really coming on to allow people of my generation easily be able to edit videos as well. So I don't think anyone should be scared of it, but it does take a little bit of time to kind of get used to it.
You just go into a little bit more detail for the listeners on what tools you're using for editing. I know you're using YouTube, which is another, you know, there's a lot to YouTube and uploading it and getting your SD done and, you know, getting your thumbnail done, which I must say you've grasped, you know, remarkably well, because there's a lot of graphics in to do. There's a lot of Photoshop work. So do you want to go into the tools you're using?
Yeah, I suppose that's actually probably one of the hardest things I've actually found, is actually trying to find the right tools that suit my kind of style. I suppose it's nice when companies like yourself are out there providing tools for agents, and they're very kind of specific to actually agents' needs. So that's good that like you're kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of the kind of agents' needs, and they can go and trust you and they go, okay, right, that's where I go. But when you're coming into this and you don't know who to talk to or what kind of software you should be using, a lot of it has been kind of hit and miss. And I have to say I've tried a lot of different software packages, from editing and from kind of shooting the videos as well. So what I have found, if I shoot them on my phone, there is the app I use on my phone is an app called Video Leap. I find that very easy to use. It's very kind of easy to edit, and it's got lots of kind of details where you can add text and add kind of graphics, and it's quite easy to edit and chop up videos and put them all together. I've gone back to trying to kind of use my laptop a bit more, because I feel it will kind of help me speed up. Now that I have a bit more time to learn the process, I actually think long term it would be better if I learn it from my laptop. And the software I'm using at the moment is a software called Wondershare, and I think it's called Filmora. And there's two different versions. There's one called Filmora and Filmora 9. I think the Filmora 9 one is a newer version, but it makes everything a bit easier for editing. But I kind of already got stuck into the older one. But from looking at kind of tutorials and stuff, the Filmora 9 looks a bit easier to use if you're only starting out. I can send you a link, a few of these, and you can pop them into your post as well.
Yeah, we can pop them into the comments for them to look at. So yeah, it's really interesting, because I'm speaking to a lot of agents day to day how they're leaning into technology, and I know from talking to you over the years that you've really leaned into it from an early stage. How has it helped you in your growth from going and forming Fleming Real Estate?
I suppose at the very outset, when I started up on Fleming Real Estate, I wanted to make sure I stayed at the forefront of technology. And it's not the easiest thing to do, to be honest with you, when you're out on your own and you're trying to kind of advise clients and different things, and you're trying to buy and sell stuff and do rent reviews and so on. That's your focus. So trying to stay on top of all the tech that's out there is actually a pretty hard task. And I think sometimes that can actually be an issue for smaller companies, that there's just so much out there that it's actually kind of good when you get advice or recommendations from other agents what to use, rather than wasting days or months on programs that don't actually, in the end of the day, waste your time and don't actually provide any real benefit for you or your client. So I think what I've kind of learned is the software that I use is, once it serves its purpose, that's the great thing about it. And getting too heavily reliant on tech sometimes may not be always the right thing. I think it's finding the right tech that hits all the boxes that you need is the important thing. And I think it's kind of, we have to remember we're all property people, and property is the focus. Tech is a tool for us to use. And I think it's good that now maybe Ireland are getting kind of slightly more focused, and there's maybe only one or two companies out there that are kind of leading. And then that means that, like most agents, once most agents go that route, that tech can improve, and then we all follow as an industry, and it all becomes a lot easier for us to use. But if you've got every single agent using a different piece of tech, it just becomes a nightmare to actually really kind of use it properly.
Agreed. Yeah, yeah. So, do you want to go into some of the tools you're using, Shane, at the moment? That
well,
really
I suppose at the moment there's probably not a huge amount I'm using from a day-to-day basis, because I suppose right now actually I've lost a few sales and stuff like that, and other stuff is on hold. I'm lucky enough that I have a good few rent reviews and some consultancy work that's ongoing, and there's no real tech that kind of supports you in that side of stuff. And the tech that I am kind of focusing on learning is more about the video and the kind of social platforms that I'm trying to learn more and more about. But obviously your stuff is a very good tool. Find it very useful to kind of quickly have a look at a value if I'm going to meet someone, even before I get into their house, and have a very good idea on what the value might be. Like I was one of those people who was very much valuation based, and I would, if someone asked me over the phone, "Oh, what do you think of this price?" I was like, well, or "What do you think of this property?" I'd be the first person to tell them, "Well, I actually can't until I see it, and until I actually go and do some proper research on it. I'm not going to give you an opinion on value." But I think actually your tool actually allows you to give a fairly decent kind of opinion on value before you actually step into the property. So I think I kind of try rely on only a few bits and pieces of tech, and I think yours is one of them that I actually do rely on.
Yeah, well, we're just trying to give more transparency, and we're trying to give all data from multiple different sources in one platform. So that, as you were saying, is to enable the agent with that tool in their back pocket, so they can use it when they need. And so yeah, you can jump on. We've got a new version releasing now in the next couple of weeks. So we've got a UI designer in to kind of really deal with the experience of agents and how they're using it. So I'd be interested to see what sort of feedback you'd give us on that.
Yeah, definitely. Always happy to help. I think it's I'm one to kind of always share knowledge that I have. I'm never one to kind of hold it to myself. I always think the more you share, the more you actually gain, and always happy to give feedback. And anytime I can give any positive or negative feedback, I'm always happy to.
Brilliant. Just going on I was watching your video there on the predictions for 2020, and you want to give some insight. I'm sure you've versed it off and scripted it off at this stage. On what your predictions are for 2020.
It's gone now.
It's gone.
I recorded it yesterday. It's gone out of my head.
Okay, right.
Now, I suppose in terms of my predictions, I kind of feel that we're only at the edge of this at the moment. I think there's probably a long way to go before we actually get the economy up and running again. I think retailers are going to be massively hit in a number of different ways. Hotels are obviously going to be massively hit. The tourist industry is going to take a long time to recover. Offices, again, I think rents will be really badly hit there as well. And all that's going to impact on the commercial value of those properties. And I suppose employment is going to be massively hit too. So bearing all that in mind, I think consumer confidence is actually going to drop dramatically over the next year, and that will impact residential values as well. I think there's a lot of people who are ringing me going, "Oh, can we get some deals now?" And my view would be like I'm seeing that we're like there's one or two deals where you can get like 10% reductions and stuff like that on one or two. Others are actually just saying, "No, we're not giving any kind of price reductions yet." But I think it's still too early. I think we've got a long way to go in this. I feel that the likelihood is at least 10%, if not 20% reductions, if not more in some sectors. And that's mainly to do with unemployment. Like there's a lot of people who are going to be losing their jobs. We've got nearly 1 million people already relying on government support. So that's going to have a definite knock-on impact on commercial and residential prices. And I think if you did watch that video, I think one or two people are a bit surprised that I've kind of predicted that residential site values could fall by as much as 50%. But that's just quickly me doing a quick development appraisal on one side alone. And just if you drop the sale prices of the houses by 20%, that could have an impact of 50% on actually the underlying site value. That's assuming everything, all the other costs remain the same in terms of build costs, but maybe we might see a drop in build costs as well.
Okay. Well, guys, you've heard it from himself. Shane, thanks a million for jumping on. I want to make these kind of short and sweet. because we could talk for hours. So again, thanks a million, guys. I'm going to put Shane's details in the comments below, and if you want to reach out to him, Shane's a very open guy. Shane, thanks a million for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.